Welcome to the Functioning Griefster, a podcast about grief, love, and the legacy those we've lost still leave behind. I'm Alexandra Spencer, a sports and holistic therapist and a grieving mom to my son Declan, my best friend, my sunshine, my soulmate. Each week I sit down in the back of Dec's van with someone from the club no one ever wants to join. We cry, we laugh, we swear, and we honour their stories, uncovering the powerful bonds that even death just cannot break. There's no script, no rules, just honesty, heart, and a lot of courage. This podcast is part of my one-woman mission to challenge the taboo around grief, especially when someone dies too soon. I don't believe their name should be buried with them. Their voices still echo through us. So if you've ever felt like you were thrown into a cold, dark ocean with no rescue ring in sight, this is the place for you. So grab your life jacket, you're not alone. Welcome to the Functioning Griefster, and today I'm here with Kerry, who is unfortunately part of the rubbish group of losing a child. So welcome to the Functioning Griefster, Kerry.
Thank you for having me.
My absolute pleasure. So we're here today to talk about Cameron.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about, I just want to say, I know that he played football.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And he didn't just play football, he was flipping really good at it as well.
He was. He absolutely was just talented,
Mhm.
just going places, just absolutely, yeah. He just lived and breathed football. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, Cameron, he was just the most funny, loving, kind soul. He was just loved by so many people. He had so many friends. He just lived for his friends. He lived for football. He lived for his friends, and he lived for his family. He was just such a beautiful boy. He was just such a mama's boy, a real mama's boy.
I noticed your necklace actually says Mama.
Mama, yeah, that's from his handwriting.
Is it?
Yeah,
that's
so
lovely.
Yeah, that's what he called me, Mama. Yeah, he was a mummy's boy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So he was your third child.
He was.
Right,
yes.
in saying that.
Yeah, he was baby of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he absolutely milked that. Yeah, he did.
And we're currently parked up in front of the beach.
Yes. Yeah.
And I know we've just had a coffee, and you were mentioning how Cameron used to roll down the embankment.
Yeah, we would bring Cameron up here as a child all the time. He loved it. He loved it up Ross Castle. He loved it on the, walking up and down, but he hated the sand.
Really?
Yeah, he hated sand. He would, if we ever took him on the beach, he would have to have socks on. He would never,
wow.
Yeah, barefoot. He hated the sand. He actually, as a child, Cameron hated grass, believe it or not. He wouldn't take his shoes and socks off on the grass. He hated it. And one thing about that, what sticks in my mind, is when we had Cameron and David's funeral, one thing that was read out, and it was just a really, really strong statement, or just a few lines of words that I remember, is how he went from being afraid of grass as a child to an absolute powerhouse on it.
Yeah.
And that was just Cameron, because as a child he hated grass, he hated sand, he hated anything between his toes. And then grass was where we made a living in the end, and it was somewhere that he absolutely loved playing football on. So
because that's just in the next town, isn't it? Because we're in Cleethorpes.
Yeah, so we're in Cleethorpes, and Cameron played for Brunswick Town, which is just like a stone's throw. You're talking minutes, before you're driving, and before you blink, you're in Grimsby. So it's very connected. Yeah.
So I know, going back to kind of the family dynamics, that you've got 2 older children.
Yes, Connor and Millie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you met the love of your life, David.
Yeah, so met David when the children was, I think Millie was 3, Connor was 7, so we were together for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never wanted any more children, but David didn't have any, so I fell pregnant with Cameron, and then the rest is history really. But yeah, I was not ready for any more children, and then he came along, and absolutely apple of everyone's eye. So he was meant to be.
And there was the 3 of you at home.
Yeah. So when the boys passed, there was just myself, Cameron, and David. Millie and Connor had got their own houses; they'd moved out. So yeah, it was just the 3 of us.
And when you say about Cameron playing for Grimsby Town, you know, had he a scholarship? Like, talking to someone that has no idea.
So Cameron started playing football from the day he could walk. David was just football in and out. He played at a good level. He played semi-pro. And then Cameron came along. So he was just kicking a ball from the moment he could walk. He went to Grimsby Town when he was 7 or 8. I can't remember, probably for the under-8s. And he played for a few months. And they released him. They said that he absolutely has got abundance of talent, but he just needs to build in his confidence.
Okay.
Cameron was very, very shy. Even up to his passing, he was just a very shy boy, really. You would think that he oozed confidence, but he actually didn't. He was we used to say that he was quietly confident, but he was okay with that.
Yeah.
So he was playing for Grimsby for a few months. They released him. They just said, look, he needs to go off, build his confidence up, play grassroots, and, you know, we'll come back for him another time. So, yeah, that's what we did. We took him off. He played grassroots till he was 12, and Grimsby Town came back for him for the under-12s. Cameron wasn't too sure, didn't really want to go, didn't want to leave his friends. We said, you know, this is your chance, and he ummed and ahed, took a few weeks to think about it. Again, I always put that down to his confidence. I think he was just too shy. He was going into a team that was well established. They'd all been there since he was 8.
Right.
He hated change. He just really, he didn't cope with it very well. So yeah, he went there at under 12s, and he absolutely thrived. He went from, they scouted him as a striker. So he started off as a striker because he was just scoring lots of goals. And by the time he'd reached 15, he'd gone to a centre-back. So he'd gone from one end of the pitch to the other. Cameron, when he was 14, he had the biggest growth spurt that you've ever seen. So he went from this 5 foot, my size, eye height, to when he passed, he was 6'2". So yeah, he was an absolute giant. Yeah, just edging on 6'2". Cameron was left-footed, so he was quite a rare player.
Yeah,
not a lot of people are left-footed. He was predominantly left-footed, couldn't kick with his right. So he took, so he ended up a left-footed centre back, and he absolutely loved it. And I remember the first time that we ever see him playing as a defender. So me and my husband had got late to the game, and as we was walking up to the game where he was playing, my husband sort of nudged me and he went, why is he at the back? What's he doing as a defender? And I was like, I've no idea. He said he's not a defender, he's a striker. And David was very passionate about Cameron's football, and he didn't get involved in the football. He was at this point just a parent from the sideline, bearing in mind he'd gone from grassroots team, which David was Cameron's manager for 4 years.
Oh, really?
So then the transition into just being a parent was really difficult.
Yeah.
But he had to sort of not get involved and let the coaches do their job, which So we was walking over to the pitch, and David nudged me and he said, here's a defender, what is he doing at the end of the pitch? He said, I'm going to have to speak to the coaches, because I've never said anything in all the time he's been here. He's been here 3 years now, but is he not good enough? Do they not know where to put him? You know, David started doubting Cameron. You know, they keep moving him. 1 minute he's a striker, then he's midfield, now he's a defender. He was like, what's he going to be next? The goalie? Is it, you know, do they think that he don't fit in with the team? And So we waited till the end of the game, and Cameron come over to us at the end, and David said to him, you know, what's going on, mate? How come you're playing in defence? And Cameron said, I loved it, Dad. I absolutely loved it.
Really?
He said, I found where I need to be. I found my position. And David was like, okay, that's fine. We move. And he absolutely thrived. He loved it. He loved being the defender. And it was the best move for him, because as soon as Cameron had gone into defence, he had scouts from all over the country looking at him.
Really?
Yeah, he was this 6'2", left-footed centre-back. You know, just didn't come along.
Yeah.
They were very rare, and he was one. So every week, every Sunday, every Saturday, there would be 5, 6, 7 scouts all coming down to watch Cameron. They all had like a big portfolio on him. And we absolutely knew who there was down there to watch. You could see as soon as Cameron came on. And his coaches used to laugh, and when Cameron was warming up, they'd say little comments to him like, why don't you train over there, Cam, in front of your fan squad? And, you know, they would all have a giggle with him. And Cameron was just very, like, just shrugged it off. He was just not showy off it at all.
And is that the career he wanted to pursue?
Yeah, that's all he ever wanted to do. Just, I'm going to be a footballer, Mum. You're going to be all right. I'm going to be a footballer. And, you know, and he'd say things like, what's your favourite car, Mum? And I'd say, I'd really love one of these, you know, like a G-Wagon or something. And he'd be like, that's what I'm going to buy you when I'm a professional footballer. So we always knew that's what he wanted to be. When Cameron was 15, we started getting agents ringing us. So we would just be going about a day at work, and Dave would give me a ring and just say, you know, I've had 4 phone calls from these agents. And bearing in mind, Cameron was only 15, like they want to meet us, you know, they want to take us all out for food. They want to talk about what they do. And we was, for months, we was just in this like whirlwind of phone calls. We don't know how they got our number. We had like ex-Man United players who would start in agencies ringing us up. And David was a Man U fan. So I can't remember the guy's name that rung, but he was a ex-Man United player who had started up his own agency. And I just remember being at work getting a call off David, like, he couldn't speak. He was like, I've just had so-and-so on the phone wanting Cameron. And we was just like, what is going on? So we kept all this from Cameron. We just didn't want anything to interrupt his football. He didn't need to know what was going on behind the background. So the offers kept coming in, and myself and David would be we would be watching Cameron playing a game. And I remember once David saying to me, you know, don't turn around, but somebody's taking a photo of you from behind. And I was like, who? He was like, I'm not sure, but he's got a massive Leicester City jacket on, and he's got his phone out taking a photo. And then one of Cameron's coaches come over and said, oh, just to let you know, like, he's like head of recruitment or something at Leicester City. And David said, why was he taking photos of us? And he said, it's to look at your height. So they're getting quite a good judgment of like how tall are his parents, what's the potential for this boy growing a little bit more. And we was like, oh great, next time let me know and I'll put a nice pair of jeans on. Or we was like laughing, but
you don't even think of stuff like that, do you?
No. So we was having our photos taken by like scouts behind our backs, as if so they knew are the parents small? Is Cameron going to grow anymore? And there was lots going on. So yeah, to cut a long story short with his football, we narrowed it down. We met a few of the agents, and then we narrowed it down to 2 potential ones that we really liked. Me and David went out for food with them, and then we was like, I think Cam's going to like these 2. One was called George.
And he has no, at this point...
He has absolutely no idea what's going on. He doesn't know where we are. We're just going out for tea. He has absolutely no idea.
That must have been a hard secret to keep. I'd be so excited. I would struggle not to...
Yeah, it really was. But we just didn't want... to get his hopes up and then get him down.
Because that can happen a lot, can't it?
Absolutely. You know, football can change within minutes, you
Yeah.
know. So we just didn't want to get all his hopes up, and we just wanted him to play his football. We didn't want him having that pressure of who's watching him, who wants to sign him, who's ringing for him. I mean, Cameron was a very clever, intelligent boy, so he absolutely knew things was going on, but he was just, you know, he was just so laid back. We picked 2 agents. So we picked a guy called George, who we absolutely really liked, and he was quite young. We thought Cameron would get on with him because Cameron had a really funny sense of humour, and so did George. And we was like, they're just going to bounce off each other. But then once me and David spoke, we said, well, is that enough for Cameron's career? Do we need somebody that's he's going to bounce off, or do we need someone that's going to sort of keep him in line a little bit? So we was watching him in a cup. How we got to meet his agents is we was watching Cameron in a cup game, and my daughter went to the toilet, and she come back and she said, "Mum, this guy's just stopped me and he's asking me if I know Cameron Walsh's mum and dad." So Millie was like, "Yeah, it's my brother. I can go get my mum and dad." So that's how we got onto his agent. So he was called Sean, and he was in a partnership with Chris. So Chris Morgan and Sean McDade. Chris Morgan was the ex-Sheffield United captain, and he was a defender. And myself and David met him, and we absolutely loved them both straight away. We just loved, they was like yin and yang, and we just knew that Cameron would absolutely get on with Morgs especially. He is just hilarious. I mean, we've watched YouTube videos of Chris Morgan, and there's just some iconic videos out there of him. Everybody knew him. He was just a gentle giant. So when we met him, I said to David, absolutely, I think he's going to pick these. And we kept to our word. We said to Cameron, we sat him down and told him what had been going on, and we said, you know, this is your choice. You're going to meet with George and you're going to meet with whoever. So that's what we did. And we got back and we said to Cameron, right, you need to make a choice. And straight away he said Chris and Sean, you know. So yeah, he couldn't sign with them until the year he was 16. So Cameron signed his contract with them when he was 15 on the 2nd of January. And then he would have turned 16 in the February. So even though he was still 15, you could sign it the year you were 16.
Yeah.
So we literally, on New Year's Day, we had Chris and Sean on the phone, booking a table for the 2nd or 3rd of January, just in case we changed our mind. As they knew that once they got Cameron's signature on that contract, that was a 2-year contract, nobody else could have him.
Yeah.
So we got New Year's Day out of the way, and they was on the blower, and they said that they'd booked a table in Cleethorpes. Could we meet them? And they had the document there ready for Cameron to sign. So yeah, then we had like a full year. So Cameron was still in school at this point, just preparing for his GCSEs, and then he was due to start his scholarship in the June that year. So yeah, he didn't do very well with his GCSEs. He left with just 1, so he failed maths and English, but he did pass his PE, and he didn't care. Yeah. That's all I need. I'm going to be a footballer. Even though he did need his English and maths, because he didn't realise that once he got onto the scholarship programme, he still needed to carry on doing that. He had to do that. So he finished school, didn't have much time off before he was straight into his scholarship. I think he started the middle of June, so he had probably like 2-3 weeks off from doing his exams, and straight into a scholarship, which was every day, 5 days a week.
Who did he want to play for? Like, what was his dream team?
He didn't really have a dream team, to be fair. He just wanted to play for Premier. Yeah, he wasn't bothered. He just wanted to play football. Yeah, he didn't care. So he started his scholarship in June, and he absolutely loved it. The bit he didn't like was all his friendship group from school. They'd all finished at school now. So they was all out doing, you know, staying out till midnight and drinking, but he'd already started work, you know, which we said to him, you've got a job now, you get paid. Yeah. You know, he was earning money, he was on a scholarship, an apprenticeship. So we had a few nights where it was like, it's 11 o'clock, you need to get in, you've got work. A few struggles with that. And a lot of his friends at this point was learning how to drive. He was 16 and a half, and some of his friends had already reached 17, so some of them were driving. But yeah, Cameron, you've got a job, you've got to come home. So he started that. At this point, we was getting phone calls from Chris and Sean telling us that clubs had been coming in for Cameron, that quite a few Premier League clubs had been placing bids for Grimsby Town, and you was talking like in the thousands. So this was something that we wasn't meant to know, but they were sort of keeping us in the loop. We know that Leeds had put a bid in for something like 180,000.
Wow.
You had like Man U, Man City, Leicester was a massive one, Southampton. They were all putting bids in for him.
So his dream of being a professional footballer was totally
there. Yeah, absolutely. But we knew that Grimsby was, they were keeping him till he was 17, so he could sign a professional contract at 17. And once he'd signed that professional contract, then he was absolutely worth a lot more, especially once he started making appearances for the first team, which they got him to do in the June. So 16 and a half, gets a call from the first team manager, getting from. I think what they'd done that day is the first team manager had got hold of the youth team manager and said, I think it must have been about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that. Can you send Cam home because we want him for tonight? And it was literally just like that. Pull him off the pitch from all his friends, get him home because we need him back. He's on the bench for the first team, and it was as quick as that. So he started making appearances, and I mean, when Cameron was 15, he was getting called up for the 18s all the time. We would have to go get him from school. We'd get a call to say Cam's needed tonight for the 18s. I'd be like, well, he's in school and I'm at work. And it's like, but he needs to be there for 7 o'clock kickoff. So I'd have to ring the school, say, can you release Cameron? They'd say, no, not really. I'd say, well, I need to come and get him because this is his career.
Yeah.
So it was, one of them.
It must have been quite overwhelming, to be thrown into this kind of industry and this lifestyle.
Yeah, it was our life.
It's just,
It was it just took over our life, but we wouldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah.
And he struggled a little bit. Cameron struggled a little bit because he was absolutely talented through and through, but his confidence was he just wasn't a very outgoing, confident boy, even though he would come across like that. He was very, how would I put him? He was very in touch with his feelings. He wasn't afraid to talk about his emotions, but only to a certain amount of people. He was quite an emotional boy.
Would you say like mommy's boy or daddy's boy?
Absolutely mummy's boy.
Yeah.
David was a man's man. You do this. I don't think Cameron would never have seen him cry.
Yeah.
I was in a relationship with David for 20 years and I probably see him shed a tear once. He was very man's man. He'd been through all the football career, semi-pro. So Cameron was just a completely different player to him. David was just, you get in there, you got on with it, and you let your feet do the talking. And Cameron would just be absolutely petrified on the way to somewhere. He was just a very different player, I would say very shy. It would take him at least a few games just to find his feet if he was in a different club. And sometimes that would show in his football because I remember going to his first ever game. He was 15 and he'd been called up for the 18s. He had no idea who these people was. He'd been in school 1 minute and then dragged out. He didn't know the boys. And then he was just getting put into this game as a defender. So, any goal that went in, they would be screaming at him. So why, so he had all these, and he just looked like a deer in the headlight, where David was very, why isn't he doing that? And why, Cameron was just like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And you'd think he'd never kicked a ball for the first few
games.
Really? Yeah, he was, but he did. He found his feet, and he dug deep, and the more he was in and around them, the more the boys would integrate him. And, you know, they absolutely made him feel part of the 18s. So by the time Cameron had gone up to the scholarship, he knew all them. He knew some of the first team. They absolutely brought him in. They would have a laugh with him. And, yeah, they were just amazing with him.
Yeah.
He came into himself, and, you know, there would be times when I remember, just sort of like an example how shy he was. After a game had finished once, the coach got them all round, and he was asking, they'd lost the game, so the coach was very angry, you know, screaming and shouting at all these 18-year-old men, and you've got little, well, not little, but big, but little Cameron at the back, like, what is going on? And he sweat, the coaches, you know, these are 18-year-old men, so he's swearing, he's screaming, and the boys are all there with their heads down, and Cameron's just like, you can see him right at the back, and the coach starts asking questions, and he's shouting things to the boys, and they're answering. Cameron just says nothing, and I just remember saying to David, I'm going on the pitch, I'm taking him off the pitch, you know, this is just, it's just torture. What he looked scared to death. And then when he came off the pitch, I said to him, did you understand what the coach was saying, Cameron? And he said, yeah. I said, so when he was asking them questions, did you know the answers? He was like, yeah. And I said, why didn't you put your hand up and say? And he was just like, you know, I didn't need to, Mum. And I was like, but he did. He was asking you questions, so that would have been a great opportunity for you to absolutely say. And he was just like, no. You know, he was just very, very shy. He knew the answers, but yeah, just too shy. And just another example of Cameron, you know, how sort of like, I can't think of the word. He was very like, just wasn't a show off, just very, think of the word, you know, when someone...
humble.
Very humble, yeah, just very humble. After he'd passed, I remember a few of his friends saying, like, we didn't even know Cameron had an agent. And I said, what do you mean? He's had an agent for a year. And I was like, he never said anything.
So he didn't boast about it or anything?
He didn't boast. And one of his really good friends, Tyler, told me a really funny story. He said, Kerry, he said, I would never have known how good of a footballer Cameron was and where he was going. He said, if I hadn't heard this for myself. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, Cameron used to have, when he was 16, it sort of got taken out of mine and David's hands. So he'd signed, he was an adult now, he was on a youth wage, he was, you know, he spoke directly to the agents, and it was about them building that rapport. So Cameron would have weekly check-ins with Sean and Morgs. They would ring him after a game. They'd talk about the game, what he did good, what he did bad, what he needs to improve on. And Cameron would have these calls with him, and me and David would be outside his room like this, trying to listen. Couldn't hear anything, and Cameron would finish the call and would say, oh, how did it go then? What did they say? You know, typical teenager. Not really.
Yeah.
So what did they say you need to do? Not really. Just, you know, like getting blood out of a stone. So, so I remember Tyler telling me the story, and he said, we was on PlayStation. He said, me and Cam were playing away. And he said, oh, mate, I'm going to have to go. He said, I've got to have a call with my agents at 6. And Tyler said, oh, yeah, no worries, mate. He said, I'll just carry on playing, just have your call and then come back on. And he said, Cameron had the call with his agents, and Tyler said, he forgot to mute me. So he said, I'm there. He said, I'm there playing away, and I'm hearing the agents talk to him saying, you know, how great he'd done. And he said, I'm listening to Chris Morgan, who is an ex-Sheffield United captain, on the phone to my best mate, telling him how great he had a game and how he was on fire and how, like, you know, how amazing he was. He said, I'm playing the game. I stopped playing. He said, my game goes on pause because I'm listening to this conversation. He said, and he was just like, the way he was talking about Cameron and, you know, what prospect he's got and the crack that there was having with him and how Cameron was, you know, he said it was just the most beautiful, amazing conversation I've ever heard. He said, I paused my Call of Duty. I wasn't playing on with that. And he told me this story after Cameron had passed. And he said, do you know what, Kerry? He said, Cameron ended the call, he said, and he come back on the PlayStation. He said, right then, mate, should we get going? He said, and he didn't know to that day that I'd heard that call. And he said he was just so humble. And he said, thank God I heard that. He said it was just, but to that day, he said, Cameron never knew I heard it. And I never said anything because Cameron didn't. So why was I going to, try and embarrass him, or not embarrass him, but just, he didn't know that I heard that call. He said, but I absolutely did. And
that must have warmed your heart. That's warming my heart to hear.
Yeah, because Cameron just got back on the PlayStation
lovely.
and said, let's crack on. And that was that, He didn't go back on there and go, oh, yeah, I'm this, I'm that.
A lot of teenagers would have been
absolutely,
like, yeah.
But he just didn't. He absolutely just didn't. But that was Cameron in a nutshell. He was just, quietly confident. He knew when he needed to speak up. But and in all Cameron's reviews, year in, year out, all we got was, he just needs to be a bit louder. Just needs to be a bit louder. He absolutely could be a leader, but he's got to be louder. And the coaches would scream at him all the time on the sideline, just, Cameron, we can't hear you. Cameron would pick up his voice and he'd just go back. So, and that was just throughout his football. He just was quite shy. That was Cameron. Cameron was just a beautiful boy inside and out. I mean, he had the looks. He was just a good-looking guy, and he knew that. He was. Yeah,
we'll share some photos.
Quietly confident with his looks as well. So all the time he'd be like.
You mentioned he has a girlfriend.
So Cameron had a girlfriend. He did. So they got together when I was like 15, but she was a year older than Cameron. They was on and off. She broke Cameron's heart. Cameron broke her heart. And by the time Cameron passed, they were just sort of coming back together. So he'd had a few girls in between, and he absolutely was not short of admirers. So he would come into my bedroom most nights, going on his phone like, "What do you think of her then, Mum?"
So he shared that with. That was like that with me.
Yeah,
just kind of
overshare.
But it's nice, isn't it, to know you've got that bond where they see you as a friend as well. Not to the point they don't have respect for you, but just that nice.
Yeah, he absolutely would. And I wouldn't want any other way.
Yeah.
Because when him and his girlfriend first broke up, Cameron was heartbroken. He just started his scholarship at this point, so it was June, July time. He just wanted to lay in bed all day. He would cry, saying that he can't eat, he can't talk, he can't walk, he can't play football. This was to me. Would never say it to his dad, because his dad would say, "Man up, get on with it, get your boots on and get to football." And Cameron would, you could see that he was really struggling, and he would come to me and just break down with me. And then as soon as his dad walked in the room, he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm off to football then." And that was the sort of relationship that he had. David was very much a man's man, and oh, what are you crying over a girl for? And plenty more out there. And where Cameron would just go, "Yeah, I know, Dad, there isn't there. Yeah, I know." But then he was just broken. So within an hour, he'd be ringing me going, I remember him messaging me once from his changing room saying, "Mum, can you just say something's happened at home and that you need to come and get me?" And so you've got this big 6'2" giant with all these footballers. He's in the room with the first team and all his squad, all the 18s, and he's quietly messaging me, just saying, "Can you tell me something? Can you just tell them there's been an accident, or you've got to come and get me?" And I would have to say, "Can't, Cam. You've got to. You've got a few hours left. You can do this. I'll come and pick you up, and you're going to be fine." And just his sensitive side, I guess. But shared that more with myself than anyone else. So I got to see that side of Cameron.
And it's an honour, isn't it?
Absolutely.
When you've got a son that shares. Those,
it is.
That's the same as me and Dec. And it is, because I know not everyone has that relationship. So it is.
No. Absolute honour.
It is lovely.
Yeah, that we get to see that side of him. Not everyone sees.
Yeah.
So he would come into my bedroom every night before bed and kiss me on the forehead. He would turn my light out. some nights, if it got to like 10, half 10 and I was tired, I would hear a car pull up on the front, so I knew his mates was dropping him off. I would turn my lamp out quick, because I knew that if you see my light on,
It'll be there.
it'd be there on the end of my bed, big light on. An hour later, I would just switch my lamp off sometimes, and you would just hear your door open. Mum, you awake? I'd be like, yes, Cameron, I'm awake. Lamp on the end of my bed.
Yeah.
An hour later, every night without fail.
Yeah.
And some nights, not always, but some nights he wouldn't turn the light on, but I would always feel him kiss me on my forehead. Him thinking I was asleep. Yeah, or he'd move my book, you know, because I used to read on a night, so if it was a quick dash to turn the light off, I would just chuck my book sort of as if I was reading it and fell asleep. And he would kiss me on the head and move my book to the side. Yeah, so he was a proper mummy's boy.
So how have we got to kind of you being in the back of Dec's van? What's actually, you know, what happened?
So just after Christmas, so we just had Christmas. My daughter was 20 weeks pregnant at this time. We just found out in the September that we were going to be grandparents. Just something that was just the next chapter of our life, really. Me and David were really excited. You know, we'd done sort of our parenting. Cameron was just nearly ready to fly the nest, however that looked, you know, be independent. So we were just like, oh, it's our time now, you know, it's our time for us too, and to go out travelling and go on holidays. And, you know, Cameron's not going to be so dependent on us anymore. And now we're going to be grandparents. And it was just like, we was just like ecstatic. It was just our life at that point could not be any better. David had just got he'd just been promoted to like a really good job. You know, Cameron was thriving with his football. We was having a granddaughter. Both our children, older children, were thriving. You just couldn't have. My life couldn't have been more perfect. We had Christmas. We had a beautiful Christmas, and then January comes. So we'd just all gone back to work. It just been the Christmas period, so I think we'd all gone back to work on something like the Wednesday or the Thursday, got New Year out the way, and it was on the Saturday, the 6th of January. We were just, me and my husband were just giving the house a deep clean, and just to go back, so in the December, just before the accident in January, Cameron's football team had got through to the fourth round of the FA Cup. So this was something that hadn't happened with the youth team. So it was massive. They normally got knocked out in the first, second, third stages, but they'd won in the December. So 2023. I think they knocked something, I can't remember the team, I think it was like Notts Forest or something. So Little Grimsby had knocked these out, and it was just a big thing. So January came around, and the first Saturday of the month, and Cameron, they didn't have a game that day because it was just after Christmas. So because they'd got round to the fourth round of the FA Cup, the manager was literally not giving them breathing space. And he messaged everyone and said, I want you all in Saturday morning. And the lads were like, come on, Gaffer, it's just been Christmas. It's like, we've got another round of the cup, we've got to win this, I want you in. We ain't got a game, we're in training, let's get all this Christmas fat off us, and, you know, let's get going. So Cameron got called into training on the Saturday morning. So we took him there, dropped him off, that was that, come home, started giving the house a clean like you do after Christmas, everything a deep clean. And my daughter rings to say that she was going to look at prams. So me and my husband sort of looked at each other and was like, her partner was working away at the time, so we just knew that if we didn't go, she'd be going on her own. So I said to my husband, well, let's just go with her, you know, she's only 20 weeks at this point. It wasn't really a necessity, but she wanted to, she was excited, and so was we, so off we went. So she came and picked us up in the car, and we drove out to Louth, which was probably about 15 minutes, 20 minutes from us. We goes to the pram shop with Millie. Cameron's at training at this point. We looked around the pram shop, was in there for like, I don't know, 40 minutes or whatever, and we got back in the car. And as we was leaving, Dave said that we've been speaking about upgrading our car with with the granddaughter come in and bigger boot and stuff like that. So he said, oh, should we just go pop to Mercedes and just have a look at the cars while we're waiting for Cam because he's training? So I said, yeah, that's fine. I said, but we're going to have to be on standby because as soon as he finishes, we need to grab him. So we get to the Mercedes garage, probably, I don't know, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. It's quite busy in there, to be fair. It is, to say it was like the first weekend after Christmas. So we're sat there waiting about, trying to get an appointment because David had spotted this car that he liked and wanted to take it for a test drive. And with that, my phone went and it was Cameron saying that he'd finished and he needed picking up. So David said, you know, you and Millie go pick him up. I'll stay here, sort the car out. And then I'll just come and pick you up when I'm all done. It's like, yeah, that's fine. So myself and Millie went, picked Cameron up from training. He was starving like he always was. So quick stop off at the chippy, got him some food and we went back to my house. Just finished his food and then David pulls up in this car, this big Mercedes 4x4 GLA. I'm not too sure. I don't know what it is. I'm not really into my cars. And yeah, he said, let's come in, and he was quite excited about it. So I wasn't really that bothered because it was me who drives it and because he had his work van. So I just looked at it and thought, that's not going to go in my work car park at all. So instantly I knew I didn't want it.
Yeah.
Too big for me. I didn't want that. But we go in the car, go for a little test drive. Cameron wanted to come with us. So Millie had just got a new little puppy. So we'd been in the car for about 20 minutes and then Millie said, can you just drop me off at my house? I need to let the puppy out. You know, it's been on its own quite a while. So gets to Millie's house and I'm feeling really travel sick at this time because I get really bad travel sick. So I gets out the car and says, look, I'm going to go in with Millie. I don't really want to come for another drive in the car. It's too powerful for me. I knew instantly I didn't want it. So we all got out the car, myself, Millie, Cameron and David, and went into Millie's house. David was playing with the dog a little bit. And then I just said, why don't you two just go off for a little test drive? It's getting on. I want to get home. And then once you've had your little test drive, we can take it back and go home and get on with the day. We've got loads to do. Your hoovers out and we've sort of stopped mid-clean.
Yeah.
So all I wanted to do was just get home. So the boys went off and was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, you two go off. They went off for a drive in the car. Probably about 15 minutes later, my son rang me and he said, oh, where are the boys? And I said, Dad's got a car out on test drive. They'll be out somewhere. Give them a ring. And he said, oh, yeah, because I want them to pick me up. I want to go with them. I said, yeah, just ring them. So that was that. Me and Millie just sat down having a drink at our house, and probably about 5 minutes later, Connor rings back and he says, none of the boys are answering. And I said, well, that's strange because Cameron he's got his phone glued to his hand. So I went on Snapchat really quick just to have a look at his location, and I could see that he was down Tetney Lock and that it was just sort of flashing. It was sort of flashing, then not, then flashing, then not. I didn't know what that meant, but I just assumed that's where they are. First thing that came to my mind was, oh God, they've been stopped by the police or something like that. So we was all ringing them. So Connor was trying to ring them. Millie was, and I just had a gut feeling. I just knew something wasn't right. I just remember saying to Millie, something's not right. Like, something is not right. If they'd been stopped by the police, Cameron would still have access to his phone. There's no way none of them can answer their phone. Something's not right. And I don't know. Call it a mother's intuition, I don't know. But I absolutely knew something was wrong with Cameron. By this point, I'm in panic mode. We're at Millie's. We don't have a car because her car's at my house because David had picked us up. So we had no transport. So I ring Connor and say, you need to come and pick us up. We need to get to where they are. And he's like, right, okay, I'm on my way. He got to us as quick as he could. You're talking minutes. And at this point, I was in meltdown. I had no idea what had gone on, but I absolutely was just I knew something was up. We gets in the car, we've got Snapchat up, just getting to the location, and we was probably, I would say about a 7-minute drive from my daughter's house to where the accident scene was, 7-8 minutes. And I was just sobbing all the way there. And the kids were just like, Mum, like, stop. What are you doing? And I just said, something's up with camera. And I absolutely, and they was like, stop saying that. And I said, but there is. I was crying. I was just a mess. And the 8-minute journey seemed like an hour. And I just remember getting onto we was on like a long, they were like country roads. So we were on this country road. I don't even know what the street names are. And we needed to turn left into Tetney Lock, which is just a long, really uneven, horrendous road with a big lock at the side of it. And as we were approaching, before you even turned in, because there was all fields, you could see the road had been blocked off before you'd even turned in, because it was just plain empty field. So you could see sort of like Tetney Lock was all, there were police cars, the road was all blocked off. And I absolutely, to this day, I know that Cameron had gone and we hadn't even pulled up to the roadblock.
Yeah.
I knew. And I don't know what it was, but I knew he'd passed. And the police didn't even know he'd passed at this point. I absolutely knew. I remember getting out of the car saying, you need to let me down to that accident. And they was like, we can't let anybody down. All we've been told is to stay here and not let anybody down. We don't know what's gone on. We don't know who's involved. We can't tell you any information. And I just remember the air ambulance landing and it not taking off. And I just knew. I knew that if them boys was critical, that would have gone with them straight away. And it didn't. It just stayed. And a lot of what happened afterwards is, sorry.
No, take your time.
It's very fragmented, but it's, me and my daughter have different accounts of what happened after that. Me and my son do, my daughter and my son do. It's just all a little bit of a blur. But what I remember is, just like my legs just giving way. It was just not, just stood, what felt like stood there for hours, just saying, please, just let me down, just let me go down. And it was just like, no, you can't go down. And then I got sat back in the car, and then I was out, and then I was in, and then I thought of David's mum. I was like, right, I need to ring David's mum. So I rang her and I said, you need to get to, the boys have had an accident, you need to get here. And she was just hysterical, saying, where do I need to get to? And I was like, I don't know where I am. And she was like, well, okay, just stay calm. Like, what can you see? What road signs?
Yeah.
And I was just like, I don't know. You just need to get here. So I just remember somebody taking the phone off me and saying, like, this is where you need to get to, very calmly. And she arrived and she just got out of the car and hit the floor. Her legs just went. And bearing in mind, at this point, we still don't know what's gone on. And then
just know.
I didn't know. I just absolutely
So no one
knew.
had told you.
Nobody had told us.
But you knew it was your boy.
I knew. I absolutely knew. They said, and I remember this car came from, they must have been, this young boy that came through, he must have lived in between where it had been blocked off, because they let him drive out and he wound his window down, and I remember him saying something like, oh, don't worry, it's just been a little crash, but everyone's okay. And I just remember thinking, absolutely not.
Really?
Like, what?
Yeah.
What? Like, I just remember, really vividly remember him saying that. But so we was there for about, I would say, I don't know, 45 minutes. And I was stood next to a police officer and I just heard him go, they're getting worked on. Don't let anyone down. They're getting worked on. And this was just going on for like a long time, too long, just too long. What I remember after that again is very, very limited. I just remember hearing on the radio, we're sending a car down for the mums. Can you put the mums in the car? Which we did. We got in the car, myself and David's mum, and I think Millie, can't remember. just remember driving, it was like a mile, so they'd blocked it off quite a distance from the accident. So we drove down, and I just remember getting out the car, and a female police officer just hugged me, and she just said, "I'm so sorry." And I just remember saying, "Both of them?" And she said, "Yeah, both of them." And I just was like, "What?" She said, she was just crying. She just said, "Both of them." Then I just remember seeing loads of flashing lights. So there was fire engines, ambulances, and just looking in front of me and just seeing Cameron on the bank of the river. I just remember seeing him. So I literally just run. I just run to him, and him and David were just laid on the bank of the river. They had like tubes in the mouth, and he had like I just remember he had like a bit of a slit in his stomach. Bearing in mind, I didn't know what I was running into. All we knew at that point, there'd been an accident, so I didn't even hesitate. I didn't know what I was going to see when I got to them, but I just run. And all Cameron, I just remember looking at Cameron, and he just didn't have a mark on him. He was, immaculate, except for he had like a little slit in where his t-shirt had a little slit in it where they'd tried to drain him, obviously, because of the water. But apart from that, he didn't have a mark on him, and I just remember just saying, you need to wake him up. He's got a football game. Like, you just need to wake him up. He's a child. And somebody said to me afterwards that they didn't realise that he was actually a child until I said that, because of his height. Yeah. So what they should have done really is removed him immediately from the crash scene. But because they thought he was an adult, he'd been like an adult, really.
So there's a different protocol.
Yeah, well, we got told that if with him being a child, he should have been removed from the scene sort of instantly. I shouldn't have been able to get to him. I shouldn't have been able to see him. Not at that point. But I remember when I said he's a child. He's 16. He's a child. You need to wake him up. I think they all sort of looked at each other and was like.
And how do you feel about that now? The fact that you were able to see him.
I'm pleased. Yeah. I wanted to.
Yeah.
Absolutely wanted to. So any mistakes that were made, I'll absolutely take them.
Yeah.
I don't remember making any sound that day, but not a few months afterwards, I went to the fire station, and I wanted to meet the staff that had been on duty that day and that had helped save.
Yeah, because the car had gone into the lock, hadn't it? So the fire brigade.
So the fire brigade were the first ones on the scene.
Yeah.
So the car had hit it had lost control. It had hit a post. I think it was like a water pole or something. I can't remember. And then as it had gone in, it had gone onto its roof. So I just remember the funeral parlour lady saying to me, I just want you to prepare you that when you go in, he's exactly in the same state as he was last night. He's still got his tubes in, he's still got a stick around his mouth. We can't touch him. I was like, right, okay. And I just remember going into the room, and there he was, just in a body bag. What they'd done is it.
And that's a hard thing to see, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because when that's your child, because I think this is what people may not realise, or it might not even be a concept for someone to think about, but your mothering instincts don't switch off when your child's spirit leaves their body.
No.
You want to still protect their body. You still want to protect them and anything associated with them. So for you to see their body in a bag is all sorts of heartbreaking, isn't it? Because you just want to say no, like that's too hard. Why have you put them in that? And
why have you not removed the tube? How's he meant to breathe with that in? I kept saying, why just take the tube out of his mouth and he'll be able to breathe.
Because your mothering instincts don't just switch
In the
off.
sick-up, why has he got sick round his mouth? His eye was open.
Yeah.
Cameron's eye was open, and it looked like a little tear, and it was just like, well, his eye's open. You know what?
And it is. It's the. I remember when I went to see Dec, I had to see him at the mortuary the first time, so they took him off in the ambulance, and the first thing I said was, but he doesn't look dead.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Like, let's check the pulse again.
Yeah.
Watching
the chest.
Yeah, he had been in there, so because he died on a bank holiday, it was the Saturday. I wasn't allowed to see him till the Tuesday, so I'd been without him for all that time. But I was still like, "Can you check?"
Yeah.
First of all, I was scared to go near him because I was like, "What if this is a trick and he jumps or something?"
Yeah.
But then there's that.
Yeah, I get.
Like, are you sure he's not?
Yeah.
He's not. Like, you've not got it wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Yearning, just hopeful.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I would just...
Because you don't want it to be real, do you?
Because how can it be real? Things like that.
And for you...
doesn't happen.
You know, like, I know obviously the focus today is on Cameron.
Yeah.
Because, you know, with this series being, you know, a mother's love, a child's legacy. But for you in that moment, you had lost your husband as well. And I don't want to just not... You know, I don't want to just polish over that because not only are you going through the worst thing a parent can go through, but you're having to do that without your partner by your side.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is even like for me, who's lost her son, who was also like her life partner, that's inconceivable.
Just how does your brain cope with that?
Yeah.
How do you mourn two people at the same time? How can you be grieving two people that you love dearly? But, you know, Cameron just consumes you.
Yeah.
So sometimes I feel that David doesn't get the time or the grieving time, or, you know, that he's deserved. But I think when you've lost a child, it just consumes you. Cameron consumes me every day. The loss of him consumes me every day. And that will just continue as long as I breathe.
So I know we've had a coffee and a chat that was longer than it was meant to be before this. And I know you said that your best friend lost her son 2 years beforehand.
Yeah, she did. The lock was exceptionally high that day. It hadn't been drained. So because we'd had lots of rain and lots of bad weather, it was higher than it normally was. So had it not been as high, maybe the boys would have had a chance to get out, but it was just too high, and the way the car had landed. So yeah, the cause of death was drowned. So they both drowned. So yeah, so that was that day really. I just got to sit with Cameron or lay with Cameron on the bank, probably, I don't know, an hour. I just remember a police officer, a lady, putting a coat around me, just saying that because it was that cold, it was January, it was freezing, the nights were drawing in, this was getting on like 3-4 o'clock, it was getting dark, they needed to move him, and I wouldn't allow that. I just wouldn't. She just said, we need to move you as well, because like hypothermia is kicking in, you're going blue, you're wet, we need to, you know, we need to move you both. And they was amazing, but I just wouldn't move. And it was actually my dad and my brother both got an arm and sort of.
Is that you don't want to leave them, do you?
No, I just didn't know really what was going on. It was just...
It's the most surreal experience, isn't it?
It's just, you can't explain it.
No.
What is going on?
You can't. And to try to explain it to listeners that have not been through what we've been through, there's not even words in the dictionary to explain that feeling of emptiness, and their bodies are there, but all of a sudden you're being told what you can and can't do with your child from someone you've never met before, and being told to leave them.
Yeah, and they're taking them away.
It's just,
you just can't. You just can't. It's surreal, isn't it? Absolutely not. Was I leaving him?
Yeah.
He's going to wake up and we're going home and stop
Yeah.
being silly.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to tell him, shut up, go away, stop being silly. And I just remember going home that night. I got taken home, and I just started hoovering up. Started doing my hoovering. I put Cameron's bedding back on because I'd stripped that and washed it.
Yeah.
So I put his bedding back on for him. I hoovered up, went in the bath, washed my hair, started blow drying it, straightening it, and put my pajamas on, and then just sat on the sofa. And it was just surreal, and just me, myself, and my daughter, and just waiting for them. And then David's parents rang me about 3 a.m. just to say, are you asleep? And I said, no, I'm just waiting for the boys. And David's mum was just crying and asking if she could come round. So she came round, and then we just all sat in silence, just waiting for the morning, really. And yeah, morning came, and we rang the funeral parlour, and just said that I needed to see the boys, which they allowed. It was a Sunday, so they said they would open it up for us. We got there in the morning, and
So from someone that has been that friend trying to wholeheartedly support her best friend, to now also being a grieving mum, can you, for people that might be trying to support a friend, is there any advice you can give? Because you've been on both sides of it.
Yeah, I remember, so 2 years prior to Cameron and David passing, my friend lost her son, who was 20, to suicide. And just supporting and being there for her it was just heartbreaking. Just, how can things like this happen to our circle? You read about this,
it happens to other people,
doesn't happen
it?
to us. This is just not real. And just watching her be broken and go through what she was going through was just, sometimes I would just feel helpless, and I didn't know what the right things to say was. Am I saying the right thing? Am I being too pushy? I was trying to get her out a little bit. I would try and get her out of bed, and we worked together. We was work colleagues, so every time if she ever did pop into work, I would be like, why don't you just come back to work? It'll keep you busy. And she was just absolutely not. I just can't focus. I would be a danger at work. I can't keep myself safe at the most of the time. So I just never really knew how to approach it. Am I doing this right? Am I being a good friend, a shit friend? But I think as time goes on, even as a friend, you sort of, you don't forget what they're going through, but it's not as in your mind as much, and we would go on like a few nights out, or we would sit and have coffee, and all she would want to do is talk about her son, rightly so. Brandon was absolutely at who she wanted to talk about. And I just remember once, and I felt really guilty about it afterwards, but I just remember thinking, God, I wonder if we can ever have a conversation without talking about him, because she loved to tell his stories time and time and time again, stories that you just knew.
Yeah.
And I remember just for that split second feeling really, really guilty, thinking, I wonder if there's ever going to be a time that we can, as friends, we can just go out and not talk about him. But yeah, once it happens to you, you absolutely resonate. I talk about Cameron every day. I would talk about him to anyone that listened to me. And I'm really, really lucky that I've got good friends that read the room.
Yeah.
So not everyone, but most people read the room. So, and they're quite led by me as well.
Because that's the thing, you can think, what would I do if that ever happened to me?
Yeah.
And like one thing that always stays in my mind, I lost a very close friend when we were 21 to cystic fibrosis. And when Laura's casket was brought in to the crematorium, her mum made a noise that haunts me still. And my heart sank, and I just thought, I was already a mum, and like Dec wasn't diagnosed or anything at this point. And I just thought, I hope I never have to experience the pain this poor woman must be feeling right now.
Yeah, yeah.
But you can sympathise.
Yes, yeah.
But you can never, like my best friend has said so many times, I have no idea how you keep going. I have no idea how you do this. And it's a case of, I don't even have any idea. You become a totally different version of yourself.
Absolutely.
That you
die
can't
along
even
with them.
You do.
You do.
This is it. Like you see posts on social media, you know, 2 Hearts stopped that day.
And that is absolutely
But I'm
true.
existing.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that is how it feels. And I know that we've spoken about different kind of coping mechanisms. And I think most mums that I've spoken to, or most parents I've spoken to, have tried to drown it in alcohol at some point just to try to ease that pain.
Yeah, just for me, so we lost the boys in the January. I probably didn't drink any alcohol until the May. I was on, and still am, on lots of medication. And I just didn't want to mix the medication with alcohol. I just wasn't sure what the product was going to be at the end. But I did. I had a drink in the May and I was fine. And then I got really drunk and I was absolutely fine the next day. So yeah, for me, it was just a green light. Alcohol just became part of my life, really. Every weekend, self-destruct, just didn't want to deal with the world, didn't want to go to the grave. I just didn't want to deal with life, really. I wanted to be around Cameron's friends. So at this point, they're all 17, 18, out drinking. And I just was around them every weekend. I just loved being around them. And it was just what I needed at that time. You know, they would call me the second mama, and they missed him so much. I mean, Cameron was just the most funniest, beautiful boy. And that he was so loved by his friends. I mean, one of his friends said that Cameron brought friendship groups together. He had that many different friendship groups. He had like his Grimsby, his Grassroots, his school, his old lot. He brought them together. You know, if it weren't for him, we wouldn't know him, and we wouldn't be hanging around with him. And that's what Cameron did. He would bring people together, and the amount of friends that he left behind. So when I lost the boys, I literally gravitated to them. I would have them at my house. They would come.
And they probably felt closer to Cameron by being around you.
They loved coming. They would, they would ring me, check on me. They would, do you need food? I would be on a night out drinking, and they'd be ringing me. They'd be picking me up, dropping me off at 3 o'clock in the morning, and they would come and sit in my house for hours, and we would go out for food. So for the full year, I literally gravitated to them boys.
It's not sustainable.
And it just wasn't sustainable. No. Christmas Day came. I absolutely hit a wall. I'd gone a full year waiting for this grief, for this outpour of emotion. And then Christmas Day came and it just hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
And it literally just changed my whole way of grieving. I truly believe that my grieving process started on Christmas Day. And then my lifestyle changed. So, I had a word for myself and just sort of said, look, you can either go one way or the other here. Drink's going to take over you, because at this point it was becoming weekly, in the week. Any chance I got out to go out for a meal, I would have 3-4 glasses of wine. And even my friendship groups, there would be 6 of us and I'd be the only one drunk. I didn't care.
But did you, because I know with me, I find 1 or 2, I relaxed a bit.
Yeah.
More than that, my emotions
Emotional wreck.
just,
Yeah.
it's like, how the hell are you not here, Dec?
Yeah.
And then I am just, I can't cope with it. You know, were you finding that at all?
I got to the point where 1 or 2 just wasn't cutting it. I would have to get to the point where I could really tell I'd had a drink. Then I would take myself off. You know, I would once I'd got really drunk, I would take myself home and I would just be an absolute mess. Just a mess. I would wake up where I got in. I might be on the kitchen floor, could be in the front room. I was just getting myself into some really messy situations, really. But yeah, absolutely. I was 1 or 2. I was okay. It would take the edge off. But I just couldn't find that cut-off point.
I think it is. It's almost like when you lose a child.
Yeah.
It's as if your body physically knows that you've lost a child, and it's almost like that alcohol.
It is.
Can numb some of that pain.
Yeah, how I explain to people that I speak to, and sometimes I feel like I have to explain myself. My friends will be like, "Oh, you're coming out tonight," and I'll say my body's physically exhausted, and they're like, "Well, what you done?" I'll say I've done nothing, but I am exhausted. Yeah. It's like the grief.
It's tiring. That's the thing. It is tiring. It's exhausting.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Grieving, and I think what people don't speak about, because we try not to speak about grief full stop, especially when a child's involved, is the impact it has on the nervous system and how the nervous system regulates everything.
Yeah.
So when your nervous system is so badly affected by this grief that a parent should never ever experience, is trying to find a way to exist, and that is tiring.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's like an exhaustion the body's not equipped to deal with.
Exactly.
It just drains every piece out of you. I can be in bed for days and then still wake up exhausted.
Yeah.
I've done nothing except maybe get up every day, have a bath and brush my teeth.
Yeah.
And that can...
Sometimes that's a win.
That's a win, yeah.
That's a win.
I take them wins.
Yeah.
Some days you have to take them wins.
Yeah.
If you've got up, had a bath and brush your teeth, or even brush your teeth, it's a win. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So have you found any coping strategies? I know for me, I told you earlier, and I've not shared this before, but I have panic attacks every morning because it's like Groundhog Day, like he's still not here because this is real, it wasn't a nightmare. Yeah. So now I give my nervous system a hot drink, I have my coffee, I let the dogs out, I kiss Dick's pillow, I sit morning, and I sit and do a jigsaw. Yeah. While I have my coffee, because while I'm doing the jigsaw, and it always has to be water related. Yes. So it's a cottage in front of a lake at the moment. But while I'm doing that, it quietens all the noise in my head. Yeah. Yeah. Like, have you found anything that helps quieten the noise in your head?
Not really. I can't say I have, because I haven't. So for me, if I like to take myself off for walks, I use the beach quite a lot. I like to isolate myself when I can feel it getting too much. I just like to be on my own. I like to shut my door, stay in my little bedroom. I call it my safe space, and just not deal with the world. My friends will give me so many days, and they'll let me have them, and then they will get me up and out, because that is, it is the best thing for me. If they allow me to, I would stay in bed for forever. I do work, so I am back working, so that gives me something to prep my week up. It just gives me something to get up for. Do I always want to? Absolutely not. It can come to Tuesday morning and I'm thinking of every excuse just not to get up and not to go into work. But I just do. I find the strength from somewhere, and I don't know where it comes from, but I do get myself up and I do go to work every Tuesday and Thursday. And again, I get home and I'm just exhausted, and all I've been is sat at a desk all day doing my work, but just my body is just physically exhausted just from the grief.
It is. It's kind of doing normal things on top of grieving can just totally exhaust you. And like, can I ask what you do dinner-wise? Because you're in the scenario that I am, that all of a sudden you're eating alone.
Yeah, I mean, the boys have been gone, about 18, 19 months, and I've have done, switched my cooker on once. I do not cook for myself at all. I eat for fuel.
Yeah.
I don't eat for enjoyment.
No, nothing tastes nice anymore, does it?
No, I don't enjoy food.
No.
I eat for fuel because I have to. So, I just live off anything quick and easy. Anything that's just, I'm that hungry, I'll just have a sandwich, bagel. I don't cook. Couldn't think of anything worse.
No, I've not. I think because Dec and I were real foodies, so Sunday we would decide what we were eating every night.
Yeah.
Then on the Monday we would go and do the shopping. Dec would find the recipes and whatnot. So doing that, just for me, is just like that. Do you ever have days where you get transfixed on something, probably to do with Cameron and David, and then it's getting dark and you realise you've not even ate?
Yes, all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes my children will ring and say, have you ate today? And I have to sit and think.
Yeah.
No.
Because what I find is time has no relevance anymore.
No, it doesn't.
So whereas, socially, you have breakfast, lunch, dinner, you go to bed at this time, you wake up at this time, there's 7 days in a week, all of that, all of a sudden just becomes, there's before and after.
Yeah, absolutely. Because for me, that Kerry died, that Kerry who had the routine and cooked and, did all those happy things, she died that day.
Yeah.
This is about a new me, and none of that fits into my world. It doesn't fit into my life. Cooking doesn't fit into my life. It's just learning how to be a new me. The old one died.
Yeah.
She died that day.
I identify totally with that.
And it's just learning, just navigating, just how does this new Kerry look? But I absolutely know it doesn't involve cleaning and cooking and just doing all things that used to make the boys happy. Yeah.
Well, I know one of the other similarities we've got is we found the new Alex and Kerry find some sort, peace is a big word, and I wouldn't say we find peace, but using social media to talk about our boys and their legacy, we've both found helpful in some ways.
Yeah, so TikTok was for me. I did used to watch TikTok while the boys were still here. Didn't post anything, but would love the cleaning videos, the shopping haul, stuff like that. And then I just remember because when the boys first passed, I didn't live at home. I didn't go home for like 9-10 weeks. And then all of a sudden I was thrust back into this house. What was the most scariest thing, what I never ever wanted to set foot inside of again. And I just got flicking and I found TikTok. So I would just sit and scroll for hours and hours and just watching people's videos and posts. And I can honestly say that it did get me through some tough nights. So when I'm up at 2-3 in the morning,
because they're the dark hours, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because on TV it's all like casino, so you either become like a gambler.
Yeah, absolutely. And at this point, I've had all my like all my Sky TV and everything taken out. So I've got the basic channels. So I've not set anything back up because I don't need them. Why do I need them? That's what David and Cameron had, all the football and the Sky in every room, and all that got taken back. I didn't want it. So here's me sat in the back bedroom. I mean, I didn't even have a bed when I moved back home. So David had like a games room with a sofa in and a big TV, and Cameron and his friends would all love it in there, and they'd have watched the footy, and that was the place to be. And so when I went home, after going home, I couldn't go back in my bed. There was no way I was going back in my bed. So I ended up in the back bedroom on the sofa. I slept on the sofa for a year. I just didn't. I mean, I slept on that sofa. I ate on that sofa. I lived on that sofa. It was filthy by the time I got rid of it, because it was just the kids would call it the squat. They used to call it my squat. Are you in the squat, Mum? I'd say, yeah, I am. Doors closed.
And it is because sometimes, like, my best friend would say, are you feral at the minute?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I was squatting in the back room, and that's what they used to say, and it was a bit of a running joke. So it got to the point where I was just like, right, I'm not going back in my bedroom. That was mine and David's bedroom. I'm not going back in it. So I need a bed. So I turned the squat into a bedroom, and it is actually quite lovely now, and I do love it.
No longer, not a stick of the dump anymore.
Yeah, no longer a stick of the dump. It is lovely. So yeah, but again, it's about the new you. That Kerry won't go back in that bedroom. Yeah. My clothes are in there, and my lotions and stuff like that are still in there.
You've got the biggest walk-in wardrobe.
I have got the biggest walk-in wardrobe. Yeah, actually, I've got two. So, but and I've got a photo of Cameron on my bedside cabinet, and I absolutely don't make eye contact with that at all when I go in. I go in, do my cream, I'll get my deodorant, and I'm out. I hate it in that room. Hate it.
These are the things that people don't normally talk about and don't realise, that it's those little things that grief can make so incredibly difficult. Things that you used to just do without a second thought all of a sudden become a humongous trigger.
You become, I think I became a stranger in my own home. It's not my home anymore. I don't go in Cameron's room, very rarely go in there. I was saying to you earlier, because I've got things that I need to put in there. They've been outside his bedroom door for 4 weeks. I just can't.
And it shows as well that grief can turn up differently. We're both mums, yet I feel real comfort going in Dec's room. Like, it was always a bit of a snug. Anyway, it didn't just have his bed, it's got like a little sofa. And if I'm feeling like I really need to be near Dec, I will watch something I know we would watch together in his room, light a little candle, the dogs will be in there with me, and the sofa's next to his bed, and I'll have my hand on the bed. Whereas obviously for you, that's your idea of hell. Like, you totally don't want to do that. So it just shows that even two grieving moms can still grieve very, very differently.
Absolutely.
And grief is not linear. It's so individual, and it doesn't discriminate.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just I speak to other grieving parents, and a lady that I speak to quite regular, she's the same as you. She turns her son's lights on every night. She lights candles in there. She has his bedroom door open. It is just, and the thought of that just absolutely terrifies me. Cameron's bedroom was, when he first passed, I moved back home, I would go in there every week and give it a quick dust, but probably for the last 6, 7, 8 months, absolutely not. It probably needs a good dust.
But you have to do what's right for you. And no one, even with the best will in the world, and people like to try to add a silver lining to everything, because we're fixers. So people want to try to fix it. But the thing is, only you know.
And I will go
how you're feeling.
I will. There'll be, the boxes are there, they're ready to go in. There'll come a moment, and it'll just come over me, and I'll open the door, put them in, and I'll close it, and that will be it. As little as that sounds, I'm just not brave enough to do that yet.
No, it's not a case of being brave. It's what you can cope with. And when you're trying to just get through a day with the level of pain of grieving a child, some things are just too much
They
to
are,
do, and
they
it's not down to strength and bravery. It's just trying to do what you can do. And
it is.
like one thing you mentioned earlier, and I want to make sure we get this in, because I just thought it was so beautiful, is there's now an award
So
in Cameron's name.
there is.
So yeah, I know you've already mentioned it, but tell me again, so everyone can hear, because I thought this was lovely.
So Cameron was absolutely loved by his PE department. He had a teacher, Miss Farrows.
Yeah, I bet they were thinking, when he's famous, like, it looks good on us.
Yeah, because actually just before we go on to that, on Cameron's last day of school, one of his teachers had wrote a book, Mr. Thundercliff.
What a name.
Mr. Thundercliff, yeah. He just had a book published, and he pulled, I can't remember, I don't know if it was a biography or, I can't remember what the book was. It's in Cameron's drawer. But Cameron said he was just about to leave his class for the end of school, never going to see him again, and the teacher pulled him to one side. He said, "Oh, Cam, can I have a word?" And Cam was like, "Yeah." He said, "Just before we say goodbye," he said, "I've got you a little present." And Cameron was like, "Right, okay." He said all his mates was outside, like, laughing, going, "Oh, Cam's in trouble."
Yeah.
And I think Cameron said, one of his mates shouted, "Cameron, just run. They can do it. It's our last day." And Cameron just stood there because he wouldn't. And the teacher passed him a book, his book, and he said, "I just want you to have this." And Cameron said, "I thought, why are you giving me that? Because I've just,
I've done with reading.
Done with reading and writing. I haven't passed anything.
Yeah.
Like, I'm obviously not that much. I don't read." He's laughing. And he brought the book home, and he said, "Oh, Mum, Mr. Thundercliff gave me this book tonight." And I said, "Oh, that's really nice. What's this? Has he got the right person? What's the catch?" And we opened it, and inside the book, he'd signed it, and it said, "I hope to read your story one day." So all the teachers knew about Cameron. They absolutely knew that he was going places, but just reading them few words it said something like, "Good luck in your future. I hope I read your story one day, Cameron." Something like that. And I thought, for that teacher, who wasn't a PE teacher, to have known of, how good Cameron was with his football and how he was progressing, to actually take his time and just give him that book and write that lovely message, I just thought it was just...
But you are doing that. You are continuing to write Cameron's story.
Yeah. So in his legacy, the PE department loved Cameron. They, because I would go watch all his games. Cameron played football from the age of 8, and I've never missed a football game in...
That's good going.
That is some good going.
Dedication.
In 8 years. I have never, should that be grassroots, Grimsby Town, school, you name it, I've never missed a game. So, PE department loved him, and Mrs. Farrow just absolutely thought the world of Cameron. She just said he was just the most beautiful, sweetest, cheekiest, funniest boy. She shared a memory with me after he passed, and she said, "I remember one day," she said, "he was late for lesson, and he was, he's with a few of the class clowns, and Cameron would stand at the back because he didn't like getting in trouble. And she sort of shooed them all in and said, 'Right, get in, you're all late, blah, blah, blah.' And she said, as Cameron walked past me, he went, 'Miss, your dress looks beautiful.'" She said, and I just remember laughing and thinking, you cheeky little thing. And she said, "I'll never forget that." She said, all the other lads just run in, but he was at the back, and he said, "Miss, you look, your dress is beautiful. You look so beautiful in that." And she said, "Cameron, get in that class," and started laughing. She said that was just him all over. He was just cheeky. And just want to mention another thing. So going back to the school. So the school, in his honour, when he passed away, they created an award called the Cameron Walsh Sportsmanship of the Year Trophy, just to keep his memory alive. They just wanted something to be dedicated to him, and every year for the past 2 years, they invite me, and then I go along and present the trophy, which is really difficult.
It's that bittersweet, isn't it?
It's that bittersweet because, you sat there in a hall full of parents. It's just PE related, so just, all about sports and the teams. And so the hall's full. And then this year we did it in the June, they invited us a lot. The first year, again, I was in a bit of a blur.
Yeah.
They'd only been gone a few months, so I don't really remember much. This year just gone, me and my daughter went in the June. We remember walking into the sports hall. It was absolutely full of parents. I mean, you're talking hundreds. We was quite late getting there. And the teacher was waiting for me at the door, and I said, oh, you know, she was like, right, come on, we've got you a seat. And I just remember my daughter nudging me, going, oh my God, look where they're putting us. They put us on the stage. So we had to walk right to the front of the hall in front of hundreds of people and get on the stage with a guest speaker. So they had a rugby, a girl that used to go to the school who was now an international rugby player. There were 3 seats, and there was her, me and my daughter. So yeah. And then again, like you say, it's bittersweet because the teacher comes, it's always the same teacher, always Mrs. Barrow, who can't speak his name without crying. So she gets up, she's making a speech, and then Cameron's face comes up on the projector, and it's teacher's crying at this point speaking. My daughter's crying because the teacher's crying. I'm crying because she's crying.
And it makes it real, doesn't it?
And you've just got hundreds of people just watching you.
Yeah.
And it is just...
I went to something and they put Dec's picture up, and it was like, he must really be dead.
Yeah. It just,
and it's that kind of, although you live every day with the pain, it's that kind of like snippet of realisation.
It is. It just takes your breath away, and for an instant it just takes you... It's just like it just slaps you in the face again, doesn't it? So yeah, they do the Cameron Walsh Sportsmanship Award. The Cleetown, which is our local semi-professional club, they have a new stadium built, and they have 2 seats for Cameron and David in there, what no one allowed to sit on. So they have 2 seats with the plaques on.
It's beautiful.
It is just beautiful. Just going back to the school, I just remember Cameron's head teacher, when I first met them last year, he said something to me, and it was just really heartwarming. I knew what a beautiful boy Cameron was, but just to hear someone else say it, I remember him saying, like, you know, I'm not going to stand here and pretend that I dealt with Cameron a lot, and you know, I only really heard about him. He said, which makes me as a head teacher, you know, feel a little bit shitty study saying that. He said, but because Cameron was such a good boy, he just never crossed my path. I just didn't.
Yeah.
You know, he was never on my radar. He said, and you know, and I only ever heard about him in staff meetings when the PE department, we would go around the table, and you know, they would give the feedback, and they'd be like, oh, you know, we've got this lad, and you know, Cameron, and he's absolutely smashing football and he's going places. And he said that would be the only time I would hear about him. But because he was such a good boy, he just never come on my radar. And
what a beautiful thing to hear as a parent.
Yeah, which is just, you know, I knew he was a good boy, but just for him to say that, and yeah, it was just really touching. He was just such a good boy. He just never come across him.
And that's totally, you know, not just with now, but when we spoke earlier, that is so apparent. You know, what a beautiful young man you and David raised.
Yeah.
You know, what an impact he had on so many people, and so humble as well.
Yeah, humble. Yeah, he absolutely was. I like that word.
I'm just so grateful that you've took the time to come and sit in Dec's van.
Which is just amazing. It's just...
watch this space. It's gonna be getting better.
It's gonna get better.
Yeah.
I think it's just amazing.
And you've provided...
What a view.
Like a view of Cleethorpes Beach.
Yeah, nice.
So there's dogs and all sorts. So
nice brown waters.
Probably we'll forget that. And then it started raining.
Yeah.
But a beautiful backdrop, because I love nature. But also we've been discussing something. I'm not going to go into details now.
Yeah.
But this is not the last time you and I speak.
Absolutely not going to be the last time.
So watch this space for stuff that Kerry and I are going to be doing.
Yeah.
This is just the start
of
our boys merging slightly.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you so much.
No, thank you. Honestly, thank you for having me. And I think for me, I thought I was prepared, and I'd wrote lots down at home.
Oh, had you?
And
It
then I
all
turned
goes
up
out the
without-
window.
Then I turned up without my book. And
I'm glad.
Yeah, which was the best thing.
Because that's the thing with this.
Yeah.
This is not scripted.
No.
I don't have a list of questions. This is just authentically
Yeah.
us chatting.
It is, yeah. And I'm so glad I didn't bring my book, because I was all prepared and then I forgot it. So
Yeah.
that was a sign. Yeah. I didn't need it. So thank you. No, thank you for having me. And yeah, like you say, this isn't the end.
It's not.
Definitely
And
not.
if you join me next week on the Functioning Griefster, we're going global. So I'm not driving all the way to America in Dec's van, but I will be sat here with Dec's laptop on a Zoom call to a mom who experienced losing her son through suicide. And we will be talking about how that's affected her, and also how different it is grieving in America to the UK. Is there different levels of support, how that looks like? So that will be next Wednesday. So please join me for that when, we go global. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
This podcast is in honour of my son Declan, and for anyone else out there who's lost someone they love, I see you, I feel you, and I hope in some small way this helps you feel a little less alone. Keep your heart safe. Until next time, I'm Alex, the Functioning Griefster, and don't forget to follow or subscribe. Your support helps this